we're involved in all aspects of the project, from site selection right through to feasibility studies, concept design, and managing all the approvals and doing all the construction documentation, and managing the site through the contract phase. So sometimes we do full contract administration, other jobs we don't. And yeah, so the roles vary project to project, scale of project, and depending on the team structure. But usually we're involved in right from the start. We get all the consultants on board, coordinate all the consultants that do the entire project.
So what I do is client-side project management, so as opposed to delivery-side project management. So we'll be engaged by a client, say it could be, say for example, a government agency who's got an upcoming project, and they say they want to, say it could be the design of a community centre somewhere. We'll say Parramatta, which is sort of booming at the moment. And so they'll come to us and they say, look, this is our design, these are our ideas. We need someone to manage the project like straight from the inception all the way through to
project managers are usually appointed by the client, generally speaking, and only on certain projects. So there are client-side project managers, and then there are builder-side project managers, depending on the contractual arrangement we have who we're working for. A lot of our projects don't have project managers, that's our role. A project manager is usually there when there are a lot of key stakeholders and complex user requirements and things that have to be managed to work out what the actual brief is, or how to get through government funding, or those sort of things. But when it comes to running a project and managing consultants and all of that sort of stuff, we really do most of that. We don't really have project managers doing that. Sometimes it's good if a project manager's on board and they're doing their job in the team, and we don't have to worry about getting quotes for the consultants and paying, looking after the financial side of paying them and checking their invoices and all of that. That's really good. But in terms of managing consultants, structural engineers, hydraulic engineers, mechanical bits, we really do that.
So generally what will happen is, once we've selected someone on behalf of the client, we'll sort of go through a startup meeting, and so that we'll bring them up to speed as to where we are. The client will generally attend that. They don't have to, it depends on what they've got on. Sometimes they just say, no, that's your ball, just run with it, and just send us emails or reports every week, every month, whatever. Or sometimes, a lot of the time, the client will still attend. And but yeah, so generally when you're working through the design process, you're meeting at least once a week with the architect or the designer or whoever it is that you're working with, and there's an awful lot of email correspondence to and phone calls back and forth.
So, okay, in every industry, there's the people that are really good at what they do and add value to a team, and there's ones that are along for the ride. So a project manager that just basically is a post office that shuffles paper is worthless. A project manager who understands complex structures and can get the most out of each team member and can really keep the project on track is invaluable. But most, we've worked with some really great ones, but we've worked with ones that would just, every time there's a question, they know that you're filing everything properly and whatever. Can you provide that? Can you send that out to that consultant? Yeah. And that's essentially doing that. We've had there's a few client-side project managers that have approached us that have said, look, we've got this client, they need to do this project, would you be interested? That's one way. Usually, especially for sort of the bigger project government work, the client already has a project manager prior to engaging. So we might get the project manager asking us for a proposal to do the project. And yeah, as I said, otherwise, there's no project manager, we go direct to the client. And then there's project managers that sit under builders. So a building company can have, a project manager who manages the project, then a construction manager, then a site foreman. So a project manager may sometimes sit underneath the builder, and sometimes that it can work in two ways. If the builder, if we've got the work from the builder, then the project manager is essentially managing us. if the builder just happens to win the job and that's how his company's set up, then we deal with the project manager day to day to resolve issues, site issues, or organise meetings. We deal with their project manager. So depending on who is engaging who and who sits above who. But yeah, the builders split their roles. You know, they've got project manager, construction manager, then site foreman, and they're looking at, you know, making sure that they're getting the quotes in. The construction manager's making sure the site's going well, and the foreman he knows who's putting which nail in which timber. You know.
Because we're acting on behalf of the client the whole time as a project manager, or on client side project management, you do have to dispute things as you see the client would. So if you see something as a problem, you'd say, look, you go to the client and say, look, I've identified that, you know, that this whatever part of the whole, you know, design process isn't really going the way you want it to go. I'm happy to go in, you know, talk to them about it, or are you happy to go in that different direction? Are you seeing that as, you know, a great opportunity for something else to come to arise? And so they'll say, oh no, that new direction, that's actually a great idea. And then so they'll go, okay, great, you know, and then we'll sit down with the client, we'll go over that new direction, look at it against like their original mission statement, their original idea for the whole project, and then make sure it all ticks all the boxes. And then we'll go ahead with that, or if they don't like it, then we just have to go back to the architect and say, look, you know we know that, you know, this, well, for example, it could be a styling issue or something. The architect thinks that this is really stylish at the moment, this is what everyone's doing, the client doesn't like that for whatever reason. So generally what will happen is once we've selected someone on behalf of the client, we'll sort of go through a startup meeting, and so we'll bring them up to speed as to where we are. The client will generally attend that, they don't have to, you know, it depends on what they've got on. Sometimes they just say, no, that's your ball, just run with it, you know, and just send us emails or reports every week, every month, whatever. Or sometimes, all of the time, the client will still attend. And but yeah, so generally when you're working through the design process, you're meeting at least once a week with the architect or the designer or whoever it is that you're working with, and there's an awful lot of email correspondence to and phone calls back and forth.
So do you meet with the client as well to get their needs and they want?
Yeah, well, often the client just wants to know, like they won't be meeting as often as we will. Like if we have a weekly progress meeting or something like that, for example, then the client will generally be at that meeting. But if, you know, we just if I have to pop over to the architect's office to go through a few different options of something, the client won't be there for that. Yeah. Like they can come to as much or as little as they want. You know, it's their money, they're paying their price. Well, with architects, it's often like they put a lot of them into what they design. You know, it's always, everything's more or less, you know, a bit close to them in what they put together. So they're not always happy about it, but when push comes to shove, it's the client's. Yeah, and so you do what the client tells you. But yeah, they're sometimes disappointed, and you understand that. Like they've designed it, they've come up with this great idea, and they think it's going to be fantastic. And you know, although it's going to be a great building for the client, you know, an architect's portfolio is something really important to them, and so they don't want to have some building that they see as being ugly or unstylish attached to them.